Hello and welcome to the Scale Modelling Cafe, and welcome to a different format because everything's packed up. In a few hours, the removal blokes arrive and to load all my stuff into the van and take me 2.5 hours up the road in that direction. And end of an era, end of 4 years in Riyadh, which is a real shame. But anyway, I thought I'd just shoot this pop-up video because a very exciting announcement has just dropped, and that is Kotare models have announced a new toolkit that's not a Spitfire. It is a 1/32 scale Messerschmitt Me 109K-4. So before I start down that route, I'm just going to talk about the 1/32 scale Me 109K4 I have in my stash. It's the Revell boxing of the Hasegawa kit. I've got a lot of aftermarket for it, including an MDC cockpit and spinner. And I've got various other bits and pieces as well. Wheels, exhausts, photo etch, blah. And it's been sat in my stash for a long time. The question is, what do I do with it? It's not in its original box. I don't have the Hasegawa box for it. So if I sell it, am I going to be able to sell it? That's a good question. If I was a member of a model club, I would probably take it down to the model club, let everybody know that I was going to be selling this, take it down there, people could have a look, and if they wanted to buy it, they could buy it without the box. But Gen Pop, as we call it in work, the general population, can be a bit funny about this sort of thing. So I'm wondering whether it might sell or not if I whacked it on eBay. Especially as there might be a flood of Revell and Hasegawa 109K4s in 32nd scale flooding eBay. I don't know. I might just keep it. Now, that aside, right, let's just park the Revell / Hasegawa one over there. There are issues with it, by the way. The area behind the cockpit is too flat, accuracy-wise, and there's no rivets. So I'd have to rivet the whole thing, which is a pain in the bum. But it's a 109. It's fairly easy to rivet and be fairly quick. Anyway, I'm digressing already. So Kotare then. Obviously, their Spitfires are amazing, although I've not actually seen one in the flesh. I've only ever seen them online, but they look pretty bloody amazing to me. And we've got no reason to think that this new one isn't going to be in the same part of the amazing Venn diagram. The Spitfire was very innovative in its engineering, the way the wing fillets are separate, but it works brilliantly from what I've seen other YouTubers building theirs and in magazines. And the capping piece at the rear fuselage to maintain the positive rivets, which weren't to everybody's tastes, but they look pretty good to me. That was innovative as well, and that worked really well. It didn't quite work underneath because they had a normal seam line, so you're going to lose rivets there. I think if I was going to do one, and I will be doing the Mark V when it comes out, then I'd probably remove all the rivets from the bottom panel and then replace them with decals. Or I'll just rivet them with the wheel and they'll have to be recessed. I'll probably do something like that. Interesting to see how they're going to tackle the K4, the 109. It's obviously going to be a series of mid to late, post-E 109s. I don't know that for a fact, but I think it's kind of obvious. I'd wager that the G6 is probably the most popular. And by doing the K4, maybe they're thinking that's the least popular, so they're going to do that. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to tackle the seam down the rear fuselage. How are they going to do that? I'd imagine it's going to be fairly conventional. This is a complete guess. I kind of hope it is, because especially in 32nd scale, it's not too difficult to glue the fuselage halves together and then sort the longitudinal seam that goes all the way down. It's not that hard to do that. So I'm hoping they're going to keep it simple, and it's going to be a simple two halves of the fuselage, whack them together. Where I think they might throw their innovation will be the undercarriage. Now, we've seen Edward do some really interesting engineering there, where in the smaller scale, in the 72nd scale kits, and I think their 48K-4 is the same, where they mount a really sturdy rectangular thing on the end of the gear leg, which fits snugly into a recess, which is on the front of the cockpit floor, and that sets the angle and the rake perfectly, and it's really sturdy. So I'm sure Kotare are going to do something, maybe not similar, but something innovative in that area. It's bound to be fully riveted. I think that's a given. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Are they just going to be dimples everywhere? I don't know. Are they going to be more realistic? I don't know. It'd be interesting. Are the K4 had different styles of rudders and things, so no doubt all the different variations will be catered for. The cockpit is going to be interesting as well. So their approach in the Spitfires was to try and minimise the parts count as much as possible, which I commend, but in certain areas can make the painting a little bit more tricky. But I think that the 109 cockpit for a start is fairly simple, and it's going to be interesting to see how they tackle that. I'd imagine it's going to be fairly conventional. Fairly conventional. There's a little bit of wiring there. How they're going to do the wiring, I don't know. Are they going to include it molded in, or are they going to allow the modeler to do it separately? Or are they even going to include it? I think they'll probably include a seat harness in the kit, not photo etch or anything like that. Give you the option of molded in or plain, so you can get some aftermarket. I think we'll see that. What would be really nice is a real sturdy canopy mounting system for those who want their canopy open. And why wouldn't you have it open in 32nd scale? Show off all that detail. Tamiya did a really good job where they moulded in the lugs. So if this is this is the bottom of your canopy, they moulded these big lugs that fit into slots in the sidewall. So it's really sturdy. Every other 109 manufacturer, you've got to kind of butt joint this clear part on a very small mating surface, and it's always fraught with danger. And I was kind of hoping that Edward were going to do something innovative on their 72nd, but they didn't, which is a real shame. So I have no doubt that they're going to do something innovative, even if they just copy Tamiya. I really hope they don't make the decision, well, we're not going to do that, because everyone knows we'll be copying Tamiya, and we don't want to do that. So we'll do it like everyone else does. I hope they don't do that. I think if they can't come up with anything different, then I hope they just copy Tamiya, because that would be brilliant. But what I think is also inevitable is all that canopy detail. And with the whole folding mechanism, hinges, stays, all that stuff, they're bound to do all that, which would be really cool. Colour schemes wise, this is going to open up a bit of a lid, isn't it? and release something a bit maybe controversial, I think it's fair to say that Edouard's research and conclusion from that research in the colour schemes was a little bit controversial, where they opined that the wings were 74, 75, and you had different colours for the fuselages, which I can see that scenario, because they were dispersed manufacture because of all the bombing, and if you've got different manufacturers, you then bring it together in one central assembly place. And, you know, were they modular? You can certainly see that on sort of tails and things. Especially the sort of G10 and the AS series, where they were taking damaged and written off aeroplanes and, you know, taking 5 different airframes and getting one serviceable aeroplane out of it. So maybe. So it'd be interesting to see if Kotare follow that line of research and agree with those conclusions, and that's how they're going to do this. I guess we'll have to wait and see for that. Yeah, I'd be nice if they could include some masks. Oh, excuse me. If they could include some masks for the markings, because those late war 109s with just the simple crosses and maybe a simple number, you know, and maybe a simple Gruppen thing down the back end, would really lend itself, as opposed to decals, to include both, because not everybody wants to spray their markings, I get that. But if you're going to start spraying markings, what better subject to start with than something that is just a single colour open cross? Dead easy. And I think that would be a nice touch. It would certainly save me designing and printing my own. But, you know, I don't mind doing that. But it'd be nice if they included them. And there we are. I guess I'm kind of running out of things to say now. So, incredibly exciting. It's when it's released, I don't know, be the end of the year sometime. No doubt there'll be some stuff at Telford, if not the final thing on sale, which would be really cool. Certainly test shots. We're going to have the age-old argument, I think, with Kotare. You know, some people are never satisfied, are they? You've got this beautiful Spitfire Mark 1 that's full of innovation and highly detailed, but it was at a price point, and people moan that it didn't come with an engine. Well, get an engine then. Get an aftermarket engine and bug it in. And if you think it's too expensive, don't buy it. I know that sounds quite harsh, but I'm fed up with this moaning. You know, just bloody hell. It's a Util Spitfire Mark 1 that's beautiful. If you want it, buy it. If you don't want it because you think it's too expensive because it hasn't got an engine in it, then don't buy it. It's quite simple. And this will be the same. I very much doubt there'll be an engine in it, and I hope there isn't, because I don't want an engine in mine, and I don't want to pay an extra 20 quid for an engine that I'm not going to use. So there we are. Right, rant over. Very exciting. 109K-4 from Kotare at the end of the year, and yeah, I can't wait to see it. That's really cool. So yeah, from an empty Riyadh apartment, I'll see you up at Majma in the new apartment at some point. So cheers, bye bye.